Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Well, Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us here on Money Mentors. Laurel Stewart here with my husband, Taylor, and hope you had a wonderful holiday. I just can't believe we've turned this corner now to 2025, and how many times we're still going to write 2024 on all the paperwork.
I was going to say 3 months from now,
Still doing it.
I may have it down by then, but we will see.
Just even, sending the show outline to you guys and talking about the topics this week, I always put the date on our emails, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, no, 25,
Right?
25.
Wrong key.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of getting used to. And we're here to celebrate the new year with you. We know we're in kind of goal-setting mode, and really that's kind of the theme of today's show. For you two, do you set resolutions? Are you those types of people?
Loosely.
Loosely,
Right? I mean,
loosely, okay.
I'm a, let's talk about it, but I'm also not one who is going to say I'm going to hold tight to it in January because life gets crazy busy. I mean, we have little ones too.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't want to set myself up for something that I can't obtain.
Yeah.
So I might do something in smaller bits. Like, hey, a healthier me means this amount of times I should be getting on the Peloton or doing something a little more or carving out a little bit more me time as a healthy mom.
Yeah.
So loosely, I would say.
Loose goals. Okay, I like that.
How about
Taylor?
you, Tay?
So I would say the exact same. I mean, we set a lot of goals throughout the year and what we want the next year to look like, but I've never been like a hard and fast, like this is what I'm doing next year for a resolution. I like to give myself a little bit of grace,
Yeah.
but not too much, right? You can't get...
I have given up Facebook one time for, I think it was about a year and a half, and that was
Oh,
actually
nice.
great. The only reason
Okay.
I got it back was because all this communication with kids has to happen in these groups.
Yeah, true. Okay.
But yeah, you kind of learn those things, or giving up pop. I think it's just a nice way to say I am turning a new leaf, and I have this empowerment of everybody else kind of thinking in the same lens. I think it is a fun time to see what people are thinking of for their resolutions.
Agreed. Just to kind of refocus on a few things too. And that's the thing, just finding doable steps too along the way. So hopefully you can find some of those for yourself too, whatever those goals might look like. But it's interesting, Fidelity each year asks Americans about their financial resolutions in particular. And this year they say most are looking ahead to a year of what they call living practically. 2/3 say they're considering a financial resolution, and a third of those say they have more conservative goals this year compared to the last couple of years. Unexpected expenses are now the top financial concern for the coming year, and inflation is right up there too in the mix. So as you hear this, is there any practical advice then that you can have for people with these kinds of resolutions and concerns? Because it sounds like people are just a little bit worried.
Yeah, I think the first thing, I love this idea of living practically. I think of credit card debt then. We've talked about a lot over last year's show about how those numbers have increased so much, where more debt is getting put on credit cards and isn't getting paid.
Right.
That's the hardest thing, is how do you become a good saver to be able to have the financial freedom to retire? And it's making sure you're paying off your debt, because man, if you get into those credit card debt situations, you're 20-25%. And then it gets to be a snowball effect where it's really hard to pay off. So I think living practically 101 means being mindful of what you spend and what that means for your credit card every month.
I think the other interesting thing about this too is like just resolutions in general. Like top resolutions probably are like, I want to be more fit, or I want to be better with my finances this year. But we just came out of a season where we ate too much, and we probably spent too much too when it comes to Christmas time and holidays, right?
Yeah.
So I think practically is the good thing. What can you control and what can't you control? Going through your budget, or maybe not even your budget, just your expenses. Are there any unnecessary subscriptions or things out there that, I've kept this up because I'm going to do this, but are you really, have you used it up until this point? Starting to eliminate some of those expenses. And with credit cards, it's so easy on your smart TV to get signed up for something, or on your iPad or whatever, all of these subscriptions. So really taking a look at, what am I really utilizing? Where is my money actually going? And then starting to set a plan and a goal in place, whether that's, snowballing on credit card debt or paying off a vehicle or whatever that is. But sitting down and putting a plan together to accomplish that goal, but something that's realistic as well, right? Because we all know that life does happen. So we've also got to be flexible that, we had this emergency come up. So I didn't quite get everything taken care of that I wanted to, but I made some really good headway. And so looking at it glass half full, staying committed to it, staying positive instead of just, getting sad about it and all things didn't go the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think a really interesting something that I heard that I have used in our lives too, and as our company's vision, is a statement of truth. And so instead of saying like, oh, here's this thought or what I want to do, like, what is your statement of truth when it comes to finances? Maybe that is as simple as, I have a retirement plan in place to know when I want to walk away, I can. Then you can start working towards that statement of truth. Like, hey, January went by, here comes February. Oh, I still haven't made that statement of truth an accurate thing yet. So what do you have to do? Schedule a time, right, to have line of sight, just in case if you're, 2-3 years out from retirement. Now if there are any budget cuts, a company lets you go, or if you willingly want to walk out the door, you have that financial freedom and confidence to do so because the numbers work and you've seen it.
Yeah, I think to kind of piggyback off that is maybe I've been putting off retirement planning for too long, and that's really my 2025 goal. I want to start getting a plan in place. When it comes to our process, our first 3 meetings going through this plan design, getting to know you, we budget about 6 hours worth of calendar space, right? We're working behind the scenes, putting everything together. But how nice for you to get your entire New Year's resolution taken care of when it only takes you 6 hours. It's not something you got to work at all year long, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's things that follow up, but getting that plan in place was really what that resolution is. And it's not a huge time commitment to get it done.
Real life lessons about your retirement. You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Well, a recent analysis of Census Bureau stats finds that Michigan, we have the 7th lowest average retirement age in the nation. The average person retires here at just 62, and the average Social Security check is just over $1,800. The average cost of retirement every year is just over $54,000. I guess problem, though, is listening to these numbers. These are just averages. I would assume not everyone comes in with these kinds of numbers or just simply retires at 62, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's pretty interesting. As you were speaking, I'm kind of doing some math here.
Right.
That's what I do, right? So let's say you're a single person, you retire at 62, your Social Security checks, $1,800 roughly. And with the average or estimated cost of retirement at $54,000, you've got $32,354 roughly that you've got to come up with that's not coming from Social Security. So where's that income coming from? Is it coming from pension? Is it coming from your investments? It's interesting that it is, one of the lower retirement ages in the nation as far as states go. And I think it is pretty average. That I would agree. That's what we see. I see a lot more clients that are wanting to retire at 57, 58 or 60. So I wouldn't be surprised in the coming years if that number comes down. Now, that's when people want to retire. The difference between wanting to retire and able to retire are two different things. And that's why getting that plan in place, going through the numbers, looking at your income sources and where are we going to be pulling this income from so you can have a stress-free, enjoyable retirement.
And so understanding that is key. And you actually help people lay out their numbers. And I would imagine, too, you see people retire younger than 62. You see them maybe wait till their 70s even. It can be kind of all over the map. But understanding the income piece is the key part of that, right?
Absolutely. And not only that, but a lot of people will come and say, I am happy with my advisor. We've had good returns, but they've never talked to me about taxes, or they've never talked to me about required minimum distributions someday. And there's a lot of nuances depending on, like you mentioned, Jennifer, on when you plan to retire. That plan changes drastically. Because if you're retiring pre-65, that means you don't have Medicare. Right. And if you're retiring, that means you don't have employer health insurance. So what does that gap coverage at Marketplace look like, or what is it going to cost you? Do you get a subsidy? If you get a subsidy, you're under income limits to make sure you don't go over those thresholds. But then at the same time, if you're going to continue working in your 70s, which we definitely have people do, I love it. And I've had a conversation with a few radio listeners where they're like, I just love what I do. I will die at what I'm doing kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we need to be thinking about what Social Security looks like then, because they're earning income and now their Social Security, if they go over a certain amount of money in that threshold, their Social Security is taxed. So it's making sure that you have a plan for all of these pieces to communicate together, and you as the client understand these different things. Leave it to us. We'll take all that stress and burden on from you, but at least you're knowledgeable and know all these different outcomes and veer left because life happens.
Yeah, and that's the key really, is what we do here is holistic planning. Not just investment management, not just helping out with the 401ks and creating investment portfolios and such. It's, how is this going to affect your Social Security? How is it going to affect your Medicare? Oh, your spouse is on Marketplace. Well, this is going to affect our income, and where are we going to be pulling income from so we can keep that subsidy limit up and still receive all the income that you want, but then about taxes, all these other things. And it can be a lot to navigate on your own, right? If you're not immersed in it every single day, plus there's little nuanced rules for every little bit of income that we pull off, or when we take Social Security or filing for a spousal benefit. I mean, it's a lot. And that's what is really the most fun for me, is every single plan we go through is like this big 1,000-piece puzzle. It's just finding all of these things to fit. But also, we need to be able to tweak it. Unlike a puzzle, right? They all have their space.
Right.
But with your plan, we need to be able to tweak it because life is going to change. What you want to do in retirement, is going to change. So again, we've got to have that flexibility in our lifestyle and in our plan to accommodate.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Matson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Matson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Matson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.